I think. I don't know. Most of them are probably closed.
Lots of Christmas cheer.
Yeah, lots of Christmas cheer for sure. Well, joining us right now on the line is Napa Valley winemaker Doug Shafer. He has a new book called A Winery in Napa, where he writes about his family's winery. It is getting rave reviews from a number of well-regarded sources, including the Wall Street Journal, the International Wine Review, and then several local publications closer to home, too. In fact, Lori Daniel with the San Jose Mercury News wrote, "Wine memoirs can be a little self-indulgent, so I approached a vineyard in Napa with some skepticism, as you might. However, the story of the Shafer family of Shafer Vineyards is funny, inspiring, and instructive." I like that. A review in the Santa Rosa Press-Democrat called the book a page-turner to love, a must-read for anyone who likes a good family story, as well as anyone interested in how the Napa Valley came to such prominence in the wine world in such a short time. Their vineyard is located in the Stag's Leap district, which is just world-renowned for being it's not a very large appellation. In fact, I think it might be the smallest appellation in California, which is an appellation is just a region set aside for specific wine growing.
Right.
So you look for that on the label of a bottle. And if you see Stag's Leap on there, it is just
where it came from.
Yeah, a select few wineries that are within that region. And Doug's family is one of them. Welcome to the program, Doug.
Thanks, Randall. Good to be here.
Yes. And so, I was reading the first part of the book last night, and it dawned on you at some point, because sometimes you can't see the forest through the trees. You are knee-deep in something, and you see all of the inner goings on, the flaws, the this, the that, and it took you a moment to step outside of what you had been part of your whole life to realize that your family's winery had moved to such a well-respected place in the general public perception.
Yeah, I've been doing this 30 or 40 years, and the first 10, 12, 15 years were tough, and struggling like many other wineries or many other businesses, getting started, and we just were focused on day to day, getting it done, growing grapes, making wine, selling wine, getting out there, and all of a sudden, after about 10 or 15 years, it's like after reading a couple reviews and all of a sudden realizing, that we were, making a profit and doing well. It's like, my goodness, we've arrived.
It worked.
It worked, and
yeah.
And it was kind of a moment in time, and then all of a sudden had to get back to, going out and pruning grapevines and getting the next wine in the bottle and getting on an airplane to sell wine. So right back to the day-to-day, duties we do around here, but which keeps you focused. But you add all those up over 30 or 40 years, and if you're still in business, you should be a success.
How did you decide the format for how you wanted to tell the story? You could look at the wine industry from so many different angles. You decided to tell your family's story. What was it about your family's story that you thought would make a good read?
Well, we were kicking this idea around a little bit because my dad had written a small book a few years before I started this one, just kind of to celebrate our 25th anniversary, and kind of told some of the stories he had in moving us out from Chicago and getting started. And we had some interest from a couple different literary agents and publishing companies. And the more we kicked it around, we realized a lot of the experiences we went through here at Shafer were the exact same experiences being shared by our neighbors here in Napa. And so our story of our development and growth over these 40 years has mirrored what's happened in the Napa Valley, because when we started, the valley was a beautiful little place, but not well known in a world sense as far as quality wines. And in a very short span, 30, 40 years, our wines in Napa are among the best in the world, and it's quite a story. I think in a very short amount of time, we've become a real player in the world of top quality wines, and the Shafer experiences kind of mirrored what happened here in Napa. So that was kind of the theme of the book throughout it. Our story reflecting what's going on in the valley at large.
Well, Doug, it's funny because I haven't seen your book yet because Randall has not let go of it yet.
Hoarding it.
He literally couldn't put it down. But, it's funny. I've had so many visitors over the time that I've lived down here on the Central Coast. And, of course, you take them sightseeing, you take them wine tasting. And if I had $1 for every time someone, that I know has been to a winery and said, oh, it's just so romantic, I want to move here and have a winery. It just seems like this idyllic life. I'm just curious. I'm going to give him your book. I'm just curious what your response to that, because it does, when you're visiting a winery and wine tasting, it does seem so simple and idyllic and romantic and fun.
Yeah. Yes, that is the myth we have created. And sometimes we pay for it. But it's true. You visit a winery, it's a beautiful, it's out in the country, it's agricultural, it's beautiful, the weather's great. And, of course, with visitors, we try to be good hosts and show them a nice time and have some wine and chit-chat and everything's relaxed and mellow. Behind the scenes, it's work.
Yeah.
It's a production facility. Sometimes we're up at 5:30 in the morning, getting guys going in the vineyard. We got the bottling line to sterilize. We're up at 5. Harvest, we're working 5:30 in the morning to 11 or 12 at night every day, 6-7 days a week for 7 weeks. There's red-eye flights back to wine tastings in New York or to London or Tokyo. Winemaker dinners. Trudging through the snow in Chicago with a bag of wine to go meet the wine buyer at some restaurant.
The winemaker dinners I'm not too sad about for you. But it's an ag life, though. You have to deal with the weather. You have to deal with bugs.
You got Mother Nature. It's a Christmas holiday, and it's raining like guns and roses, and it's like someone's got to be here to make sure the flood or the creeks, if they overflow, don't flood the wrong vineyard or this type of thing. There's a lot of things behind the scenes people do not see and have no idea about. There's no reason they would unless they were here living it. But a lot of folks, I think, have come out to different areas or different wine countries thinking, I'll buy a little vineyard and set up a winery and have a nice, idyllic life. And it's hard work.
That was your dad. That was your dad's thought, though, right? When he moved the family out to the Napa Valley during a midlife crisis.
Did he know what he was getting himself into?
No, I don't think so. It's funny. In writing the book, I talked to him. I kind of questioned him more than I ever had. Kind of what his mind, where his head was at when we made the move out here from Chicago. And, I found out that he had really always loved working outdoors, and a love of his was to be out and be on a farm situation. And this is from suburban Chicago, and I had never known that. And so that move was part of that. And I remember, I grew up in Chicago, seeing him catch the train down to Chicago, 3-piece suit, day in and day out, doing the office thing. And all of a sudden, I'm driving up the driveway out here from high school at the afternoon. He's out on the tractor with a straw hat and jeans, and the biggest grin on his face you'd ever seen. He was a happy guy. He loved it. So,
hey, Doug, did you see the movie Bottle Shock?
I did.
And what did you think? How accurate?
Oh, I don't know, because I wasn't around at that time. As far as knowing the players, I think it was pretty accurate. I think they did a pretty good job on that one.
Sort of give a sense of the because that was in the not long after your dad bought that property. Some of the wine that won over in France was from the Stag's Leap district, wasn't it?
Right. Yes. Stag's Leap Wine Cellars had a Cabernet. I think it was their 73 vintage that won, and Chateau Montelena up north in Calistoga had a Chardonnay that won. But I think that movie depicted well that how rural and kind of a not backward, but kind of backwater type of place the Napa Valley was then.
Right.
There were no restaurants, no fancy hotels, no la-di-da mansions in the hills. It was just a farming community. There were grapes, there were walnuts, orchards, prunes, all sorts of things. And it was not the wine scene was not a big, high-end quality deal at that point in time.
Well, if you want to get Doug's insider look at this, and you want to get it for free, and a signed copy nonetheless, which I thank you so much for doing, Doug, you can play part in our trivia contest, which is coming up in the next hour here, but you want to call right now, 707-TRIVIA-8. 8. It's a very easy number to remember, 707-TRIVIA-8. The phone will ring several times, and then you'll just leave a quick message. Our producer, Cora, will pick one of those messages and call you back, and we have 6 trivia questions for you to answer. They're very easy. Don't worry about it. But it should be a lot of fun, and you can get a signed copy of Doug's book that way, 707-TRIVIA-8. Doug Shafer, author of the book A Winery in Napa, about Shafer Vineyards there in the Stag's Leap District. Thank you so much for joining us on the show this morning, and I look forward to finishing the book.
Thanks, Randall. Thanks for the time. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And so, I grew up just outside the Napa Valley, and we had a lot of family in Napa. And so, in fact, my orthodontist was in Napa. So I had to drive to Napa about once a month to get the tightening.
So you've seen Napa over the last 4-ish decades, too.
Yeah, thank you, Patty. And, and yes, no, I have. And I have seen it change from what he was. I have a little bit of insight into what he was talking about.
How it's evolved.
There. Yeah. Stick around, everyone. We are talking about, what are we? Oh, timeshares. I had to think about it. Coming up next, stick around. 8:45 the time.